Howdy, friends. Welcome to our PSA Award Judge Orientation webinar. I'm Andy Vance. I'm Executive Director of the Poultry Science Association. I would say, first off, want to thank you on behalf of our staff and the board of directors of PSA for volunteering for a really important job to help judge our awards competition. It takes a large number of volunteers, and your time and expertise is greatly appreciated. We literally could not do this without you. So thank you for being a part of our annual meeting. We're under 2 weeks away now, very exciting. And this session hopefully will help you feel comfortable at ease with using our online mobile judging software to evaluate the entries that have been assigned to you. Sam Schaefer, Director of Communications here at PSA, is going to guide us through the new PSA Award Site. So that way you can figure out how you enter your scores for the student competition. He's got a presentation he'll walk us through here momentarily when I introduce him. But that presentation is going to encompass everything from accessing the site, finding your individual judging assignments, searching and sorting and scoring those assignments, and ultimately, as I say, how to enter your scores. Anytime during this webinar, this training session, if you have questions, please submit those through the Q&A widget here in Zoom. We'll take plenty of time at the end of the presentation to answer questions. We're doing this kind of webinar format, so you need to use that Q&A widget. We're not all just here kind of in a mass Zoom. So the raise hand function doesn't do anything. You need to submit everything through that Q&A feature, and we'll take as much or as little time as we need to work through your questions. So, as I mentioned, the raise hand feature doesn't do anything, but this webinar is being recorded, and it will be distributed to all of this year's competition judges once we've processed the recording. So you can share this with others that you know that are in your committee or whatnot that are judging. We'll send this out to everybody. And if you want to go back and rewatch the presentation, you'll be able to do that as well. We'll also send the accompanying handout that gives detailed step-by-step instructions presented here during the webinar. My impression from talking with our program chair, Mike Persia, is that this is a very intuitive, user-friendly system that you will have no trouble using to process your particular assignments. And with that, I'm going to turn over to Sam Schaefer, who's been our master at arms on this particular project and has gotten this software up and running. So Sam, if you will, walk us through the training and what we need to know.
Will do. Great. Thanks, Andy. And again, I echo Andy's sentiments. Thank you all for participating as a judge and volunteering in this capacity for PSA. Our gratitude is definitely extended, as this is a very important part of our annual meeting. So without further ado, let's dive in. So first things first, on my screen, I have our new award site, which is awards.poultryscience.org. Everyone should have received an invitation to log into this platform and create your account. After this training is over, if you did not receive an invite or cannot find it, feel free to email me and I'm happy to get you in touch with the right invitation and get you set up in the platform. So once we go to the award site, we're going to log in. And at first, when you log in, you'll see all of this. And what does all this mean? Well, first things first, at the top left-hand corner, you'll see a submit and judge review. By default, judge review should be highlighted for you. This is where all of your assignments are going to be. The submit button is where entries are submitted to the system. So when we open our annual award cycle, that's where you'll go. But of course, during the student competition, we are not accepting any submissions for awards at that time. So judge and review is where you're going to live. Now, when we go to the judge and review platform, right below the PSA logo, you'll see my reviewing assignments, judge review entries. These are all of the assignments that will be given to you for the student competition for you to judge, review, and submit scores for. Now, you can sort things out in different ways. You can sort from abstract number, entry. You can see the status, whether you have to score it, if it's in progress or it's been scored already. You can filter through presenter name, institution, and the award type is the session within the student competition that abstract is assigned. You have the ability to adjust any of these columns to suit your needs. So say presenter name is not something that you want to see. You can click that and it'll adjust the columns accordingly. You can also drag and drop any of these columns. So say you want a presenter institution to be over here, you have the ability to move that around to where you like it. So it's just a kind of customizable, configurable system that lets you view things in the way that works best for you. If you are in a mobile device using the system, it will condense things a little bit. It still looks the same way. There will be an additional tab that displays over in this area to drop down some of those additional columns that you may not see on a mobile device, because it does kind of shrink. So there are only a couple of columns available. However, the rest of the system does work accordingly. Something else I want to address is that if you are reviewing multiple sessions within the student competition, you'll see all of them listed up here. If you click one of those, it's going to narrow down just the entries within that session. Now, say you want to go back to all of your results, you just need to click that X where that filter is being applied here, and it'll take you back to all of your entries. One other thing to note is that if you are managing any of the display fields, entry is a key one that always needs to be seen, because that is how you actually dive into your assignment and score it. Now let's talk about scoring. So we're going to look at this one right here. When you click the entry field, you'll see all the details about the abstract, the name of it, the abstract number, the title, presenter information, and then as you scroll down, you'll see the scorecard. We've prepared the scorecard so that all of the different data points and guidance for scoring are within the system. If you are in need of the abstract itself or wanting to look at that, we'll have copies available at the registration counter, or you can collect those from John Cole. We'll have those happily available for you. The PDF of the abstract itself is not available within the system, but we will have printed copies. So as you can see, we have our visual aids, we have style and delivery, integration of knowledge and understanding of scientific content, and ability to answer questions. Again, like I'd mentioned, all of these have guidance points for what points to award, and you'll also see that each section has a comment option. So if you have comments for visual aids and how the presenter did or did not do well according to your judging, you can leave those comments in that section. So we'll go ahead and give this entry a score. We'll give it an 8 for visual aids, a 5 for style and delivery. Say they really knew their scientific understanding and they answered questions so-so. Once you get down to the bottom, you'll see another comment on this entry. This is a comment field for your overall comments of the entire abstract presentation itself. So you can leave comments there. It's totally optional and up to you. Now that we've scored this entry, we are ready to wrap up our score. You'll see 2 options down at the bottom here for save and next and save and close. We're always going to want to use the save and close option, because that is going to save your scoring and close it and take you back to your assignments. If you click save and next, it's not a terrible thing to choose, but it will take you to the next assignment scorecard, and it's not going to take you back to all of your results. So we're going to hit save and close. And we'll see that now that we have scored this entry, the status is listed as complete. And say we want to see what our score was for that category, we can click Student Competition Scorecard and save, and that will give us the score that's calculated for that entry. The system does take into consideration the weighted scoring system that we have applied to the student competition. So that is automatically configured once you submit your score. A couple other things to note just through the sorting options. You do see a PDF option, but as I had mentioned previously, there are not PDFs of the abstract within the system. So when you click that PDF option, what it's going to take you to is a printable version of the scorecard that you just submitted. So say you want to print off all of these and enter your scores later, that's totally acceptable. You can do that through this feature. Say you don't want to go through though and print off each individual one. No problem. You can click this bulk download option, and that's going to generate this notice right up here at the top that says you will be sent an email, and it'll be compiled in a zip file that you can download and print off all of your entries if you want to do the paper route. At the end of the day, though, you still will have to log into the system and submit your scores electronically. This is a way of kind of monitoring that the competition is being judged and scored fairly and accurately. So judges have to enter their own scores within the system. They cannot have other individuals submit scores for them. So it's pretty important that even if you go the paper route, which is totally acceptable, that you do go in later and enter your scores accordingly for all of your assignments. A couple other things to note. I know this was kind of a quick overview of judging a score, but we do have a step-by-step guide that we will be sending out along with this recording that details everything that I've just touched on. So the system is fairly intuitive as far as like how to find your assignments and submit a score. Also note that if you are just seeing a few assignments, those are the assignments that have been assigned to you. You're not going to see everybody's assignments. So with that, I will open it up to some Q&A. Andy, if we have some questions that have come in or any guidance somebody else is seeking.
Please do submit your questions in that Q&A widget, as I mentioned, not in chat or not by raising your hand or anything along those lines. The indomitable John Cole just asked us to remind everyone or to share with everyone that the abstract book and the mobile app will be online by Monday, so you can access and print your abstracts there as well. So we were discussing, we'll have printed copies available on site, but if you want to get them starting Monday, you can do that online as well. So either the abstract book or the mobile app will be available to you then. So questions, we will leave those in the Q&A area, and we'll tackle as many as we need to make sure everyone's comfortable with the online scoring system.
Mm-hmm. I'll also go a step further, Andy, while you're looking for any of those questions that have come in, that if any judges are seeking any advice or guidance on site at the meeting, I will be there and I'm happy to answer your questions in person too.
I'm not seeing any questions at this time, so that suggests that we've covered all the bases and pretty straightforward. I think we'll all agree it's a pretty easy peasy system, very user friendly and intuitive. So hopefully everyone will have a smooth experience using this to try to make your judging process a little easier on you, and as an individual judge, and a little more efficient in terms of the scoring and tabulations and so on. So
I will say I do have a question that I prepared myself for. Say you have submitted an entry and it's not the score that you meant to do. So as you know, we just submitted this scored entry, but say we scored them a little too high on something. You can go back into that entry. Let's say, they really didn't do as well on the scientific understanding as I thought. So you can go in and you can change that score, and down at the bottom, just as we did the first time, you'll hit save and close. As it repopulates, you'll see that score updated with that different weighted score that we re-entered in. So you do have the ability to update and change your scores if you find out, oh, I didn't submit the correct one, or you did paper and you went in to put them in later and it was the wrong sheet you were looking at. You do have the ability to adjust your scores.
all right, I had a question here from the audience. When are our scores due?
Yeah, so the scores should be due by Wednesday, I believe. I will double check with John Cole and Casey Owens, who is heading the student competition, to verify that deadline. But since the award system and identifying the student competition winners are Thursday, I believe Wednesday is the deadline. So when we send out the recording and the additional PDF document that outlines all these instructions, we'll also give you a heads up on the deadline to submit your scores.
All right, I had another question from the audience. Sam, could you explain the in progress designator?
Sure. So as you can see, this one says in progress and the one above it says to be scored. In progress simply means that you've gone in and at least looked at it. Even if you may have entered like one score, or you may have entered a score and then backspaced and took that score out, saved and closed it. It just means that you have at least looked at it, but the score is not complete.
Other questions? All right, well, seeing none from the floor. Sam, any final thoughts or comments before we close the session?
Nope, just like I said, be on the lookout for that email that wraps up all of the things that we just discussed with a recording to this webinar, that additional PDF document, and the deadline of when scores are due. Again, we thank you for your time serving as a judge for the student competition. If questions arise after this webinar or on site at the meeting, please feel free to find me, Casey, or John. We're happy to help you out. And again, we appreciate you serving in this capacity.
And as I said, look forward to seeing all of you in Philadelphia in less than 2 weeks' time. Have a great Independence holiday for those of us here stateside, and safe travels to Philly. We'll see you at annual meeting.
Safe travels, everyone.